What's up, Vetters? Patrick here with Vetted. Today's video is about Tom DeLonge because not too long ago, Joe Rogan just said this on his podcast.
I mean, if you've mastered gravity to the point where you create like a bubble around everything you are and you travel through it without any resistance whatsoever, and they've clocked things going underwater that are going like 500 knots underwater. You have no idea how it does that.
Yeah, well, it's all kind of, it's like this, I mean, you probably know more about this than me, but my only exposure to the kind of UAP thing was traditionally through, I'm a big fan of Blink-182, and there's Tom DeLonge.
I've had Tom DeLonge
Yeah,
on.
you've had him on.
Yeah.
You've had Travis on as well. You
Yeah,
need to get,
Travis is the
Mark
shit.
on. He's the third.
Yeah.
He's complete the set.
I love Travis.
I've always, I'm in a band.
Not that I don't love Tom either. I just thought he was
Tom's
crazy.
awesome.
I thought he was crazy when I had him on before. And now I'm like, damn, I think he might be onto something.
Well, he's so cool. He's
But
always
also-
been like an inspiration for me. Like, I make music, and he's been, a big, inspiration for me. But he always got me into. He kind of got me into the UAP thing for a
He's
while
all in.
ago. Yeah.
He's all in. But I do have to say that if I was the government and I wanted to like spread a bunch of crazy stories about UFOs, I'd tell them to people like Tom.
I guess so, yeah.
And I'd tell them to people like me. I mean, I think people do that on this podcast. I think some of the information that gets shared on this podcast is probably bullshit.
To kind of
And
like,
to hide
muddy the
things.
waters. Yeah.
So you see, it seems like Joe may have thought at the time when Tom DeLonge went on his famous interview on Joe Rogan back in 2017, right, even before the New York Times article came out, he thought he was crazy. Right, Joe Rogan thought Tom DeLonge was absolutely crazy, and now he thinks maybe he was on to something, right? Which is interesting. So what we're going to do in today's video is kind of look back through Tom DeLonge's interview on Joe Rogan, and I went and listened to the entire thing from the first second to literally the last second, and what I discovered is quite fascinating, to be honest with you, because if we roll back time and start to listen to what Tom DeLonge said, it seems like a lot of the same things are kind of repeating themselves. So as we go through this video, which it is a long one, and I apologize for that, but just there's too much context I can't leave out. So let's dive into this. All right, Vetters, please hit that like button. That really helps out the videos. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Now, let's begin. And please stay tuned to the end, because at the very end of the podcast with Joe Rogan, Tom DeLonge says something under his breath that you can barely hear that's very interesting. So I'm going to save that to the end. I don't think most people caught this when it originally came out. I never did.
So you're obsessed with UFOs, right? Is that safe to say?
It's safe to say, but it's not so much just the UFO itself. I mean, I don't call them that anymore. We call these advanced aerial threats. They're different, but
Threats?
you honed in on a word we weren't supposed to really get into here in the first part of the show.
Did you have a plan?
I have a very long plan, detailed plan. We're going to start with my body. We're just going to talk about my body for a lot.
So this is an interesting part of the interview, right? This is at the very beginning here. And they kind of have this playfulness to them, but you can already tell immediately Joe is kind of like off-put with Tom the entire time, pushing on him the entire interview, as you'll see as we go through this video. But that's kind of interesting that he calls them not UFOs and not UAP, right? Where did that term go? Just, I guess, disappeared. He said they're calling them that, but nobody calls them that, right? And he kind of has this plan, right, to come on and reveal certain things on this show, which is exactly what Joe Rogan brought up as well, right? That he feels people do go on his show to spread stuff. Was this one of those instances? Was Joe sniffing this out, right? All right, so let's go through exactly how Tom DeLonge, began all this.
I got into it when I was in junior high. But for some weird reason, I had like some time off, and I went to the school library in like 7th grade, and I was like, damn, I'm going to read some boring shit. What am I going to read? And I saw this one book, and it had a picture of the Loch Ness Monster and like a UFO. I'm all, that looks cool. And I read that, and I was like, holy cow, these are like real. It wasn't all science fiction. I mean, the way the book was laid out, I was like, these are like real events. I'm all, there's no way, really? And then when the band started doing its thing in the back of the van, there were no like smartphones. So we were buying books, and I would just lay there. We'd have like 20-hour drives. And so I started buying books on the UFO phenomenon. And I was, once you do that, it's a black hole. You're done.
Yeah, it's definitely a rabbit hole. You get sucked into it.
So there's a lot of this in the interview where Tom basically, I can't talk about that, so I don't want to bring this up, and Joe's clearly not happy with that. And that honestly has become a staple in the UFO community. I can't talk about it, right? But I can talk about these other things that get you excited. But as soon as you want more details, I can't give you those, right? It's like, I don't know. Anyway, what he says here about Hal Puthoff creating remote viewing, I think he just misspoke, because clearly Hal Puthoff didn't create remote viewing. And he was part of the group that did start the Stargate program. And I think Grill Flame was the one before that. There's some confusion there as well. But, so again, this is going to include a lot of people that you hear about all the time now. Right, your Hal Puthoffs, your Luis Elizondo, Steve Justice, right, and even some people that aren't around anymore. And why, right? So, let's keep going.
I think that this generation was meant to have this stuff come out, but I can't prove that. That's just my feeling.
What makes you feel that? Like,
because of exactly what you said. There's a lot of people. I don't believe that some of the events happened on accident. I think that there's been a lot of events that are on purpose. Some have been for show. Some have been for, there's a variety of reasons. But I think a lot of it is a control system that's really pushing humanity in a very specific direction. And
so like they've got a time frame where they've had these events take place. Is that what you think?
Yeah. And they also time travel, which is different than what people think in like a movie where they sit in a machine and all of a sudden you're in the 1930s and you got to go save humanity. When you use the technology, there's a time difference between what they're doing inside of an artificially created bubble of gravity of sorts, and then what's on the outside. So if you're on the inside of one of those machines, everything would be skewed more black and white. There would be like a red shift, and everybody would look frozen. So you literally could fly around and grab a Coke out of someone's hand and put it in someone else's hand. It's really...
Where are you getting this from?
Well, take a wild guess. Look at the people I'm surrounded by,
So the people you're surrounded by are telling you this? Is that what it is?
Well, I don't want to get into that, but the people I'm surrounded with and myself, are very close to this stuff. But the physics, the physicist that's a co-founder of my company, To the Star, he's a Nobel nominee. He wrote the book on plasma physics.
What's his name?
Hal Puthoff, Dr. Hal Puthoff. And he created remote viewing. Do you know what remote viewing is?
Yeah.
He's the creator of the CIA psychic spy program, but he also has done like really exotic, advanced, forefront propulsion work for the past decades and decades. Actually, I mean, he's deep into the quantum this and that. So he's the one that actually told me about the redshift. Yeah.
And so they have experienced this physically, or is this just theoretical, or they know that it exists? Like
the technology?
Yes.
I believe that the technology not only exists, we've figured out how to play with it, but I'm not going to really get into that here. What that is what we're doing at my company, though. That is the announcement. So Steve Justice was head of advanced programs at the Skunk Works, and the Skunk Works are who built, the famous secret bases you hear about. Skunk Works did, the U-2 spy plane, the SR-71 Blackbird, the F-117 stealth fighter, and
it's all Groom Lake out there,
all
right?
that kind of stuff. And he literally was in charge of all the advanced programs. So you got the boss, and you got him, and he came. He just finished his career over there within the past 2 months, I think it is, and he was on stage with me when we came out and said we're going to be building one of these things.
So when you say that all this technology exists, have they explained this to you, or have you seen it physically?
Oh, I haven't seen anything physically like that. I wouldn't be allowed to go anywhere if that does or doesn't exist.
So they've just explained to you that this exists. And that this is in the hands of the U.S. government?
I think no. I don't want to get into that kind of stuff. But if you don't mind.
But why is it that you want to not get into certain things?
Well, I don't want to I represent more than myself these days.
Right.
So I definitely have to watch what I say.
Well, who do you represent when you say you represent more than yourself?
The team that I'm with. So when you look at the people that are a part of my company, it's Undersecretary of Defense and Senior Intelligence Service.
Is there a list of these people like that we could see?
Oh, yeah. I thought you guys would have had that.
Yeah, but I mean, is there like a list where folks could see it online?
Yeah, they can go to tothestarsacademy.com and scroll down, and you'll be able to see who they all are. So
how did you get linked up with all these people?
That story might be a better way to start, because
Okay.
a lot of people don't know this part of the story, and I think you're going to find it pretty fucking odd as well. But
So I agree. Joe's suspicions here are pretty spot on. I think it very suspicious, right? Absolutely, right? Meeting with a general in a diner at an airport, and he tells you, "We found a body in the Cold War." I mean, it's just like so typical movie, right? And as we go through this, I think you might start to realize that Tom DeLonge was being used in some way, because I personally feel Tom DeLonge is coming from a genuine place. I like the guy. I love Blink-182. He has a lot of passion for this, and he's just very into it. And I think he thinks he stumbled upon something that people don't know how he stumbled upon it, right? And I think the people around him fed into him to sort of boast him up, right? And then the ego takes over, which we're all guilty of, right? But again, as we go through this and learn about To the Stars Academy and the claims that Tom DeLonge was making that To the Stars Academy was going to do and who he was working with and whatever, clearly, it's almost 10 years later and To the Stars has crumbled, right? It's no longer around. And I think looking back through this, you just start to see a lot of similarities in what's happening now with companies that are also coming out saying the same sort of things, right? And is it going to end up in the same place as To the Stars? Let's continue.
okay, so we'll back up a couple years. So I was obviously, I started the band Blink, and Blink went places, and then but we always had a weird band relationship, like most bands, and we also thought that we would never be big. So we started companies on the side, and I had a company that incubated a lot of small startups like software and apparel and hardcore skate surf companies and stuff like that. Well, I learned a lot from that, and I pulled out an entertainment startup called To the Stars, and I knew I was going to be doing kind of like science fiction franchised stories, just like Disney, but science fiction for adults. And what that means is, I make a story, I title it, I brand it, and I put out the book, and I put out the merchandise, and I go make a movie, and it's a vertically integrated kind of model. Well, one of the stories I knew I wanted to put out was Secret Machines, which was kind of a historical fiction, but based on real events about the UFO phenomenon. But I also knew that I knew shit that most people don't know, because I've studied it for so long, and I happen to put some pieces together that most people don't put together. So before I came out with that book, and before I came out with the plan to take that, make major motion pictures and all that kind of stuff, I knew I needed to ask permission. So I flew around to places. I can't say who they were, and they listened to my pitch, and then I got a email out of nowhere that says meet us next to the Pentagon at this day and time, and I did that. And from that,
You got an email from just a random person?
No, I just can't tell you who it's from.
Okay.
And so then I go out.
Meet you next to the Pentagon? So you just
Yeah.
flew to the Pentagon?
I flew out to Pentagon City. Yeah. It's dude, this
Were you
gets.
freaking out?
I'll tell you when I started freaking out. There's more shit. It gets way worse. This is nothing. So that started me out near D.C. taking some other high level meetings, and there was somebody at a very high level that closed the door, looked me in the eye, and says, "Okay, I'm going to introduce you to somebody." And that person comes to San Diego, puts me on the phone with a general, and the general is listening to my little stump speech about what I want to do with this franchise, because I definitely didn't want to, I wasn't looking to like force disclosure, and I wasn't looking to be rogue and break secrets. I was like, look, I know what's going on here, and you guys are doing a kick-ass job, and I would have done the exact same thing should I have been the guy at the top that had to make some really hardcore decisions 70 years ago. So I want to support you. I think people are cynical because there's a vacuum. You guys can't say what you're doing. So all these people are just coming up with a bunch of bullshit to say, oh, you know, they don't want us to know, or we can't handle it, or it's all about oil and money and all this weird shit.
But you had put these pieces together independently.
I did.
And
so
based on books that you read?
Yeah, people think that like places like the CIA and the DIA, all these intelligence organizations have, you know, a monopoly on information. They don't. They get their information from the real world too. You know, they do have access to you know, archives of information. They do have access to some amazing, you know, satellite data and stuff like that. But if you're smart and you take your time, you know where to look, and you find patterns, you can pretty much put together all the same shit they can, kind of, you know. And that's what I did. And so when I pitched what I wanted to do, he said, come up and meet me tomorrow. And so I flew up to NASA, actually, NASA Ames, and had a 2-hour meeting there. And after 2 hours, that person says, he looks me in the eyes, I'm going to introduce you to someone else. And he did. And so I got on the phone with this person, and this person, you know, go, I'm a skeptic. And then at the end of the conversation, he goes, fly out and see me. And so I did. And that's when things really started happening. So I fly out to this airport, and I sit at a table in a restaurant at the airport. No one's in there. And this gentleman sits down, and the waiter comes up. He waves off the waiter, and he looks me in the eye and says, it was the Cold War, and we found a life form. And that's when I started shitting my pants, because I know a lot about this stuff, but you always wait to talk to somebody that is one of the inside people. You always want to have...
So he sits down at a restaurant with you at the airport and tells you that they found a life form.
Yes. And
during the Cold War?
During the Cold War. And everything that they did and every decision they made at the time was because of the consciousness of the Cold War.
And why has this guy decided to meet with you at an airport?
Because the only way you meet with these people, the only way you ever would have anyone talk to you is if you can provide a service that they need. Mm-hmm. And my service was pretty interesting to them, because I said, look, you guys, you know, you struggle with saying disclosure. You want to tell everybody everything, which I don't think everyone should know everything. And then you say they can't handle it, so don't tell them anything, you know. And I'm like, there's a middle road there. And here's the way I would do the middle road. And it resonated with them.
I mean, it's so interesting what Tom says about the Roswell crash, and even what happened after the Roswell crash, why it was implemented literally around World War II. So it's really hard to, like, it's probably just about World War II, a lot of this stuff. But I don't know. The Roswell crash has always fascinated me. I will be honest. It's a very, very compelling case, because a lot of things just don't add up about that. The official narrative doesn't add up, but also the alien narrative has some holes in it. So it's like, it's like JFK. It's like, just things aren't adding up.
I was fortunate enough to know the core story, and most people don't.
So explain that then, if you don't mind going back. Like,
sure.
When you said that you were able to put things together that other people weren't. What are those things?
Essentially, it's the book Secret Machines, where you have a lot of private finance. You have some world bankers, and you have a lot of people internationally working together to figure out a plan of how to push back against something that's been coming here for a very long time, but using off the books finances and using mechanisms that we're not totally aware exist. And what people have to realize is, you know, the UFO phenomenon isn't a phenomenon. There's the universe is fucking gigantic, and there's life everywhere, every fucking where. And there's a lot of life that's way more advanced than we are. And just like Voyager left our solar system, a little dinky satellite from the 70s, and just like my company's going to be building, you know, this electromagnetic craft that really can do the same thing to time that I've been telling you about. Other civilizations have that too, which means you can traverse those distances of space. And what you have to think about is what happened when we first discovered that, and what did we do about it? And there's no, you know, you got to look at 47 in a very peculiar way. 90 days after the Roswell event, CIA was created, the Air Force was separated from the Army, the National Security Act was created, and all those things are mechanisms to start learning more and to start getting private industry off the ground.
So that had nothing to do with World War II. You think it had to do with aliens?
Oh, I absolutely think it. Well, both, because what I believe crashed at Roswell was well, I believe it was German from Argentina, but it had hallmarks and technology based on alien technology.
So it's just very interesting how Tom, again, sitting in the back of a touring van, going around, right, with your band and reading a bunch of books and being like, I figured it out, you know. But the difference is he's got a lot of money and connections, and, you know, he's able to get meetings that other people aren't, right? But the fact that they infiltrated UFO groups, are they still doing that? Probably.
How would they manage this then?
How
If
what do you
these
mean?
regular dudes without access to communication like you have, how have they managed to disseminate this information and sort of confuse everybody?
I think, well, I can tell, I don't know how they did it. I do know that they infiltrated UFO groups. That was the very first thing they did in the 50s.
Sort of like how FBI agents and undercover cops infiltrated Occupy Wall Street and pretended to be radical hippies and started fights.
Yep, they did that. They get access to what the civilians are learning, how information transfers from one group to another, and then they start deflecting all their knowledge and putting in leaks and this and that,
Right.
and getting them off the main track, not because of a disdain for citizens and not because of any other reason than picture ISIS. We don't know what ISIS is. They got a nuclear bomb, and we caught a guy trying to sneak in this bomb.
Right.
Are they going to stop and come sit on your couch and tell you all about it? No. And if you're like on the radio and there's all these people going, oh my God, we're going to die, a bomb, a bomb, a bomb. They'll hold up a second. You know, you're not going to fucking die, but we need to learn more about this, and we got to figure it out before we sit down and talk to you about it.
So
But-
what was the connection, though, specifically that you had figured out, that they knew that you had figured out, that other people hadn't put together?
Well, let me go back to my story. So I
Okay.
put out this book, and this book deals with
What's the book called again?
secret machines, and it deals with secret, international finance, private industry, a secret space program, and a bunch of other things.
And how'd you research this book?
What do you mean?
How'd you get the information?
Oh,
that
it's
you
just
put in this
25
book?
years of reading shit and watching videos and studying physics and studying, the secrecy acts and all that kind of weird shit. You put it together, and a lot of it's bad information. But after a long time, I just realized what was going on.
So this idea about the satellites is interesting because David Grush has said the same thing, right? So we should have thousands hours of detailed satellite imagery and videos of all these UFOs that are coming in episodically, right? Why we should be seeing them all. It should be we should be inundated with proof and evidence. But where is it?
And you have a whole bunch of weird military excursions, and they're bumping into each other, and all these people aren't read in to what's going on with the UFO thing. So as all that shit,
So who gets read in?
that's a good question. If I had to guess, very, very senior technical brass,
And rock stars?
and I wasn't read in. Trust me.
No? They didn't tell you anything?
No, they possibly did, but I wasn't read in. I wasn't brought into a skiff, and they said this is what's going on, even though I've been in a skiff a few times.
Okay.
Do you know what a skiff is?
A boat?
A skiff is a special compartmentalized information facility.
Oh,
It's where top secret shit can be discussed.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
maybe they talk on boats because nobody can hear you.
They
Just
do
drop
that
in
too.
the middle of a rowboat.
They do that. They actually do, because you can sweep for bugs on boats a lot easier than you can on a building.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they tell you what?
Okay, so I'm sitting at that restaurant, and
It says he found a life form,
or
or
that-
they found a life form during the Cold War.
right, and I said,
Where'd
well,
they find it?
Oh, I didn't ask him that question.
Really?
Because many places. I did one time bring up, I said, I'm thinking about talking about the crash in the late 40s. And they go, why just that one? That was the answer. So I had to figure out a language to talk to these guys.
Did you ever think maybe this guy's bullshitting you? Or he's a crazy
fuck
person?
No. Fuck no.
No?
I'll tell you. That's why you got to hear the whole story.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm sitting with them. We talk about a lot of things. I bring up the incidents with our nuclear weapons. I bring up the incidences, a few other things that I want to get into. And he goes, "What do you need to do your project? What are you looking for?" And I said, "Well, I need advisors. I need people that are from different areas in the government because everyone has their own perspective. You know, you have people at the National Reconnaissance Office that have a perspective based on the satellite feeds they're getting, and these things are coming in and out of the atmosphere. Then you also have people from the agency that are worried about and collecting information of what's going on with people in different countries and here. But then you also have, you know, engineers that have a perspective on how the technology is made and what that might mean, because there's a lot of consciousness stuff that falls into this
Can I
category.
stop you right there? So there's satellites that track them coming in and out of the atmosphere?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
What kind of satellites are these?
I don't know. Usually forward-looking infrared, but I don't know what spectrum of the infrared they're looking at.
So there's some sort of a camera or some sort of a detection device that they have in the atmosphere just to check for UFOs?
I don't know if it's just for UFOs. They can pick up very, very specific heat signatures, and they have algorithms, because what you have is a satellite is a device that can pick up what you program it to pick up. Now, you know, you put a sensor on there, but you got to tell the sensor what to do.
Right.
So if the sensor says, look, something traveling at this speed with this kind of heat, you know, you got to record that, you got to focus on it, and that's what we call an ICBM. But if something comes in and zigzags, stops, and turns left, and it's traveling 10 times faster than that, we need you to record that and focus in on that as well. But if something just is moving low and it's only going 300 miles an hour and it has these big wings and a low whatever, that's just a plane, you know. So what it captures is based on, you know, how it's programmed in the first place. But
so
yes,
it can differentiate between meteorites and
absolutely,
spaceships.
yeah, absolutely. So.
Okay. So how often are these things coming into our atmosphere?
Oh shit, I don't know, but I've had quite a few discussions. One of the people I've been in contact. One of my advisors was from the National Reconnaissance Office, high up, and they call it episodic visits. That's all I know.
Episodic, meaning like they have time periods where they like.
I saw a paper where they
semesters.
I figured out the Department of Defense figured out a physicist there, an algorithm of how to compute when the things fly in and collect smaller ships, like motherships, small ships, at what longitude and latitude, and what essentially what orbit it would land at when it would collect these other machines. And so they tested that, and all I know is it was successful.
I mean, that's a very startling claim from Tom here, right? Like, he's been given permission, get out there and do it. I mean, that's like your mouthpiece. You know, you become what's called a useful idiot. Again, I like Tom a lot, and I'm sure he doesn't feel that way personally, but you never do if you're the one that's been fooled, right? It's easier to lie to someone than, or I forget the quote. It's like, it's easier to admit you've been lied to than you've been fooled or something. I don't know. It's a Mark Twain quote. Like, it's hard for people to accept that they've been fooled, essentially, because nobody wants to admit that, right? You'd rather admit many other things, but not that you were fooled, because that is sort of you know, it leans on something that most humans, myself included, our intelligence is in question, right? We're an idiot. We're stupid. Oh, hang on a second. That's not true. I wasn't fooled, right? And I don't know. This is such an interesting story, going back and listening to this 10 years later, because a lot of this stuff this interview could have come out now, right? And some people like to say that's a good thing. I don't think that's a good thing. I think that's a bad thing, because I just see things repeating over and over again in this community.
Well, let me tell you the rest of the story.
Okay.
So and it's important because you'll see. So he goes, what do you need? I said, I need advisors. And then, so next thing you know, I leave, and 2 weeks later, bam, 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 my email starts. I have all these admirals, all these generals, no intelligence people other than brass that were connected with the National Reconnaissance Office. But National Reconnaissance Office is half Air Force and half CIA. But they're all military. And so I start talking to them. I start meeting with them. I fly out to Colorado Springs, and there's a general and a colonel, and they look at me and they said, okay, do you need anything else? Are you good? And I said, well, I think you guys should talk to the Defense Intelligence Agency. And they go, why? I just don't want to upset them. I want to make sure everyone's kosher with what I'm about to do. And the colonel looks at me and he goes, do you ask your dad for permission after your mom's already given it to you? And I go, no. And he's all, you've been given permission, shut the fuck up and get to work. And I was like, all right. So I did. So I go out and I put the book out there and I start doing national radio, like the Art Bell, so Coast to Coast, Georgia, where I do all that stuff. Next thing you know, I get approached by somebody at a certain agency. And that guy comes to San Diego and puts me in a small room. And I got what you would call interrogated for 2 days straight, saying, we need to know who the fuck you are. You know shit you shouldn't know. And
So what specifically should you not have known?
the book, what's in the book, everything I've been telling you today. When you're dealing with, there is a concerted international effort to deal with this stuff, and that was in my book. And it's not like Roswell crashed, and it was not like, like all the typical UFO shit that people dwell on isn't the story. It's just that there's something crashed, or someone got abducted and saw this, or someone pulled a little piece of metal out of their body. But no one's put together what we're doing about it, because our countrymen since World War II aren't stupid.
What set them off, though? Like, what was the thing that you said that you should not have known?
In my book, it is my belief that we have an incredible. We've made incredible strides creating assets to deal with this stuff. That's my belief, and I'm not speaking for my company. This is just me
Assets.
speaking. Yeah.
Mean some sort of a government agency that's been designed or put together, international?
International.
Okay, so some sort of an international collaboration to deal with the threat of alien life. And that was enough that they pulled you aside and wouldn't let you go for 2 days and just interrogated you?
So it was it was an interrogation, but it was a pretty heavy debriefing of how I got to where I was. And it's not like they didn't let me go home. This took place at a hotel near my home.
But they made you sit down and talk to them.
Oh, fuck yeah. There was 6 of them, I think, 6.
And so they let you leave and go to sleep and then come back, get something to eat and
came back, spent another 8 hours, because I wasn't rogue. I wasn't like trying to hide anything. I was trying to explain to them.
How did you have all this free time, though?
What do you mean?
I mean, if somebody said, hey, we're going to have you in a room, we're going to talk to you for 2 days, I'm like, dude, I don't have 2 days.
Well, that's maybe you don't, but if
you do,
fuck yeah. When you have these people that want to get a hold of you, you don't run.
I'm not saying run. I'm saying, like, what are you guys looking for? Like, they're going to just sit you down and ask you questions for 2 days because you put together this idea that somehow or another there's some sort of an international collaboration to deal with the threat of alien life?
No, they looked at it. They didn't know. They thought I was Ed Snowden. They thought there was a group of people leaking me classified information.
They didn't know that you're from Blink 182? They didn't know that you're like a huge
They don't care about
rock star?
That's what they don't understand. They don't care about who I am. They just care about the material.
Right, but it should take them like 3 seconds to realize, like, you're not Edward Snowden. You're a rock star.
But I'm saying some pretty provocative shit. You got to realize no one else has gone up there and talked about, once again, I'm in a tricky spot right now because a lot of what happened back then, I can't really get into now because of the positions and the things I'm involved with. But read the book. And
so it's just because you printed the stuff in the book that they wanted to pull you aside and talk to you about this for 2 days.
And I was all over radio and talking about it, and I was saying some other crazy shit that I can't repeat. So if people are listening, if they want to go back and look at those interviews, that's a better way to.
Okay, so you had said something in those interviews that you can't say again because they told you to stop talking about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Did they tell you to stop talking about the fact that you can't talk about it?
No, I mean, I don't think that's the issue. The more of the issue was, what are you trying to achieve?
Right.
And once they found out who I was working with, they were like, holy shit.
All right, so my apologies. I had to change settings to finish this. Let's get to Tom DeLonge talking about a piece of UFO material that allegedly they got a hold of that they bought from Linda Moulton Howe for, who knows, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. Also to get it tested and see what it did, because they said it had these, unbelievable properties. Now, I've got some other clips that I want to show you in relation to this, but let's let Tom explain it just a little.
I mean, there's a piece of metal from a crash that I've seen, and I've seen the science on it, and it's atomically aligned, and it's layered in like 80 layers within just a few microns of purities of metal that aren't even in our solar system. And they think it needs to be made in an area where there's no gravity. So number one, it has to be made in space. Number two, even if we were to create a machine that can potentially do some of this stuff, 3D printing layers of different metals that of obscene purities, it would cost hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. We don't even have that.
Why do they think it was made without gravity?
Because I think it's the atomic structure. So what happens is when you radiate it with terahertz, it loses mass. Something weird. It resonates some kind of harmonic, and then it gets lighter. And if you hit it with enough terahertz, it'll float. So we're going to be showing people this stuff. We're going to be bringing out the hardware, some of the hardware. We're going to be bringing out implants. We're going to be bringing out videos. We're going to be bringing out some other stuff.
So you're going to be showing people this actual physical piece of metal that was constructed in a zero gravity environment in space, and if you hit it with enough energy, it becomes weightless.
No, I wouldn't say weightless. I don't know if we can make enough energy to do that, but yes, that is our plan. And show the experiment.
All right, so here is Gary Nolan talking about this part with Ross Coulthard.
A sample of material which is known as the bismuth magnesium material. Have you been able to reach any conclusions about that?
It is a layered material of bismuth, a little bit of lead, and magnesium. I've looked at the ratios of the isotopes there, and there's nothing unusual about it. But I will be getting a hold of a much, much larger sample of it. That will allow me to do some other kinds of tests.
Now, one of the things that's been speculated about this particular piece of bismuth magnesium is that if you put a waveform through it, I know this sounds daffy, it will levitate.
I have heard of this result. I have not seen it with my own eyes.
Have you tried?
No, because the waveform that they needed to put through it is terahertz waves.
And that was why Tom DeLonge's To the Stars Academy did the CRADA, the research agreement with the US Army, because they're the only people that have got the terahertz transmitter that you'd need.
Right.
Do we know whether that research has been done now?
I'm not allowed to talk about that.
Aha, this is getting interesting.
Yeah.
But the thing that fascinates me about that is some of the material that To the Stars Academy was saying that it was going to be researching was material that was provided to it by the US government.
Yes.
And if all this stuff about UAPs is rubbish, why was the US government keeping samples of flying saucers and flying discs?
And it gets even more interesting because Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick came out with Arrow and said they had that piece tested, and the results were it was a missile casing. Wasn't UFO related at all.
They're some of the same people that worked for Robert Bigelow under the DIA program. They're some of the same people that have been working behind the scenes with Congress to write legislation. They're the same people that worked with a U.S. company and the United States Army to explore a piece of material that they claimed was a UAP, and it really is a piece of missile casing from the 1950s. They're the same people that have been influencing some of these whistleblowers who have come forward to say, hey, I don't have any firsthand evidence, but all these people are telling me this. Here's what I know.
But then Gary Nolan puts out a tweet saying this about that. Well, I personally have two pieces of it through two chains of evidence. The material is so fragile, at this point, it crumbles easily. I've made burnt toast with more resilience. I don't know of any missile casing so fragile that could have survived transport and loading, never mind the acceleration of being fired. It would be dust before it left the firing tube. Both of my pieces exhibit extreme layering. So I look forward to Dr. Kirkpatrick's peer-reviewed data, as well as all the other claims he has made. Has he released any data from any of the claims? Did I miss something? And look, clearly Dr. Nolan is going to put out more information about this because that was just a year ago. And look, if you want more information on this, John Greenwald from the Black Vault put out a great article explaining all of this. So I'll put a link down below. Please go check that out. But let's let Tom explain a little bit more about this piece that, again, according to Arrow, is just a missile casing. But according to Dr. Gary Nolan, that may not be confirmed just yet.
I would imagine that this piece of metal, if it exists, would be kind of game over. If you brought this piece of metal to the most advanced scientists in metallurgy or whatever they would be that would understand this kind of shit.
Yeah, and it's already been there, but the problem is
there anywhere online where people can read about this?
There actually is. There's some of this stuff, not this piece in particular, They came out as arts parts on Arts Bell a long time ago, and they're different layers of bismuth and magnesium. But this one came from a crash in 48, not the 47, and I know nothing more about it. But I don't think it's anything they're going to come in here with a chain of custody and say, this came from Air Force or something like that. You know, I don't know who has this.
So you're going to bring this and demonstrate this to people?
Yeah, and the reason is because we're also going to show videos that just got declassified from our most advanced systems. I think they call it the Aegis system. It's a radar system and forward-looking infrared of UFOs. I have those in possession actually already. And so we're going to show the videos that the first time in history, by the way, that videos of UFOs have been declassified. There's been leaks and there's been people catching shit on their phones, but I have all the chain of custody, all the documents and everything. And we just got those a few weeks ago, and there's a shitload more coming. And so we'll release the videos and we'll show the experiment as a proof of concept so everyone knows this shit's all real. Because right now they're just looking at a drawing and they're looking at this guy from the Skunk Works, you know, and just going, how the fuck are they going to build a machine that plays with time and plays with the fabric of space-time? And so we have to kind of educate people and say it's possible, it's possible.
Is that it? This thing?
Yeah, that's it, there.
Advanced electrogravitic propulsion, is that how you say that?
Electrogravitic.
Gravitic.
So what that does, what the machine does that we're building is there's an electromagnetic wave that is the foundation of everything, of all mass, of everything. Like some people call it 0-point energy, some people call it the vacuum energy, but like 1 inch of air could power the United States for like hundreds of years kind of thing, or maybe more. So what they got to do is isolate very specific atoms to where all the noise of all matter and cell phones and everything that's going on Earth can be separated from this one atom. And if you can do that with the right material, you can get access to that electromagnetic wave that's powering the atom, the invisible wave pattern that's under everything of all existence. And once you do that, it's not like splitting an atom. This is the power behind the atom. It's extraordinarily dangerous, but it's also what will turn that thing on, and it'll turn into a ball of light and just disappear. And I could show you a video of something doing that. That's actually on YouTube, you know.
Okay, tell Jamie what it is.
And so this little spaceship that they were going to build is also very interesting, right? That, again, never got built, right? This thing never got made. And then Tom actually goes on to sort of show them a video of what is an example that he thinks is a real UFO. And, you know, Joe's response is, let's just say, you know, not supportive. He even kind of talks a little bit of shit about Tom DeLonge when he doesn't have the headphones on. He can't hear him. You can hear Joe Rogan talking to Jamie under his breath. It's kind of just making fun of him.
And do your people get to?
They'll be able to see it. We'll put it up on the screen.
So what this is? Well, I don't really want to tell you what it is, but I want you to watch it. You can't hear me right now. Is this? That's not it. One more page. I'll find it for you. Just takes me a second. There's a bunch of this shit. This is the craft, by the way. That's in. Did you spell it right? Astro. That's why. Sorry. Astra.
Oh, Astro. Astro, not Astro.
Yeah.
If you're typing it at home.
Yeah, it's all right. We gotta make sure it's the right one.
I don't know. I think Joe just thought he's crazy, and you know, what's this guy talking about, right?
So for the people that are just listening and you want to go check it out, TR38 Astra Aurora Project
3B.
USAF. Oh, 3B, sorry.
This is the Craft and Secret Machines book. That's all I'm going to say.
And this thing is floating in the air.
It'll take a few seconds till they turn on the engine.
That looks pretty badass.
Oh, wait, you can see little lights dancing around on the bottom. But I think this was leaked on purpose because the guy's making it just hard enough to see, moving the camera around in and out of focus.
Yeah, right? Like it's got like, he's barely focusing. Boy, that looks like a drone.
Well,
it looks small too.
It's not. That's pretty big. I would think that one's about 40 feet.
Really?
Look, see the tail fins on the back? That's how you know it's not alien per se. It's built off, I think, technology that came from there, but, you know, they don't need vertical tail stabilizers.
What's that big light?
Okay, this is the engine. They turn it on. So right now they're accessing that energy I told you about. Now, and watch what happens. There's a pilot in that.
If that was in a movie, I'd want my money back.
Why?
This movie can suck my dick.
Why? Why?
It looks so fake.
Oh, you think that? Yeah.
It did look fake. What is that? TR-3B is real?
These
There's
ones.
another one?
This is the same one, but these ones are stacked, and that's a drone that came out of one.
That's
I
a
think.
drone?
The small one is.
Oh, the little thing that came out the side?
Yeah. But if you can look up Black Triangle UFO and find hundreds of these videos.
So, you know, Tom DeLonge is clearly not thinking that he thinks what he thinks is the truth, right? He knows the truth, right? And he doesn't care if people call him crazy. And, you know, I think the way he justifies it is, I mean, look who I'm surrounded by. I clearly got all these people around me. It must be the truth. There's no way they would feed me disinformation and give me false shit to say and send me out, right? There's no way that we would start a company that is allegedly going to go forever and bring disclosure, and then it just completely falls apart and nothing happens.
Now, let me ask you this. How often into a conversation do people look at you and think you are fucking crazy when you start talking about this? And how long
All the time, yeah.
All the time, right? But do you ever get to the point where you're like, I don't want to talk about this?
No, because it's I always tell people you don't know what I know. You know, and there's a lot.
No. I mean, like, do you ever get to the point where you're like, I can't do this anymore? Like,
No.
people think I'm fucking crazy.
No, because I'm involved on the most important shit I've ever been in my life.
So you think this is like the most important thing that you've ever done in your
Oh,
life?
fuck yeah. Like, I have meetings with senators coming up. Like,
Do you?
Oh, fuck yeah, I
What
do.
senators?
I can't tell you.
Damn, it's all this I can't tell you stuff.
I know, because
So
this is some fucking tricky shit.
When is all this going to come out? Like, it seems like this is like eminent rather disclosure type shit.
Watch
right?
what my company does. That's what I'll say.
And honestly, what Tom DeLonge says about Luis Elizondo is fascinating. And we all know where Luis Elizondo ended up at this point, right? How many fake UFO photos has he shown? And dead aliens has he shown, right? It's just innumerable, the amount of mistakes. And you have everyone basically saying now they don't even trust the guy, even though a lot of the people that supported him. Now you've got a strong group of people online who do support him. And those people are some of the worst people online to deal with. They dox, they threaten, they harass. They're called the Lou Crew. It's disgusting, to be honest with you, that it happens. They came after me. They've tried. They still come after me. They'll be in the comments of this video, right? It's really easy to spot them, honestly, once you get it. They use a lot of sock accounts. I mean, it's just so weird. Luis Elizondo, his whole involvement in this is so weird, especially when you look at how he got involved with TTSA as well. Just so weird.
They all have their top secret TSSCI clearances. Yeah, I'm the only one that does it on my entire team. I'm the only one that does it. Actually, Lou, that just came out, I hired him away, so he was head of all. He was in charge of all classified operations for Secretary of Defense Mattis. So he was what's called a GS-15, right underneath the 1, 2, and 3 stars. He ran the Advanced Aerial Threat Program, and it's still continuing to this day, and he's with us now.
So the Advanced Aerial Threat Program under the United States government is essentially a UFO
That's one of the
information gathering and assessment.
Assessment of all of what those machines are doing that gives off all these types of effects that people are witnessing. But there's also a very large group of people that have had within government that have had close contact, like hundreds, and it's connected to my group, and there's just more coming in that way. So that program is trying to figure out what those technologies did to those people and how those technologies work, even though it's more about tasking, our assets like satellites and other things to be able to find these things better. But this is different than the Secret Machines book, which is more of another thing altogether.
So is there communication between the United States government and alien life forms?
I personally, I don't know any of this stuff because I'm not invited to those types of meetings, but I personally wouldn't doubt it, yeah.
You wouldn't doubt it, but they've never alluded to it or discussed it with you in any way?
Not this group of people, no.
Is there any speculation as to what they're doing?
Resource extraction?
What a great question by Joe. Have you ever sat with somebody that doesn't really believe this but knows a lot of stuff? And again, Tom really just dismisses that because look at who he's surrounded by. Look at the bios. How could they be wrong?
Have you had any debates with people about this stuff? Have you ever had someone who thinks that this is all nonsense and sat down with you, understands physics and understands rocket propulsion and space and elements and all that shit?
No, I haven't. I wouldn't be able to debate a physicist, but they can read all the papers, you know.
Right, but I mean, has anybody been skeptical? Has
Oh,
anybody?
yeah, everyone's skeptical,
Right.
yeah.
And what's your response to that?
You don't know what I know.
Right. Well,
I
what
know-
do you know though
I
that
can't,
they don't know?
I can't tell you some of the shit that I know, and I can't tell you.
But what could it be that's so crazy if you know? I mean, what you've said. Well, think about what you've said. You said that there's some ridiculous sort of propulsion system that allows you to move through time. That they visit this planet all the time and extract resources.
Right.
That there's people in the government that are trying to disseminate this information, but they don't know how to do it. They don't know the right vehicle to do it. They're doing it in these sort of controlled chunks. Mm-hmm. Think of all these things that you said. What could possibly be crazier than that?
Well, you're asking me how do I know?
No.
Okay.
I'm asking you, what do you know that could possibly be crazier than that?
Well, that's the shit I can't tell you. It's not everything's hunky dory.
Is it something where you're worried about the fate of the human race?
I think that's part of it.
Where should I move? If I was going to move,
It's not existential.
whip your dick out if I should go to Australia.
How about I just whip my dick out in Australia?
I mean, where's the spot?
I don't think there is one,
There's
unfortunately.
no spot. They're just gonna...
This is what I will say. It's not existential in the sense of they're not going to come here like Independence Day and nuke the place. But there are things to worry about.
And this whole thing that the public owns this stuff and, you know, all of this is just bunk. Again, I love Tom DeLonge, but that's not public. Joe's right. That's a private company that went public. You can own some shares, but you have nothing to do with it, right? I got shares in Apple. You think I own Apple? I own iPhones? You know what I mean? I own the MacBook Pro. I own this Apple Watch. Like, no, that's not how it works. So I'm a little confused by his thought process around that he thinks that would be in the public domain somehow. So, but either way, doesn't matter. TTSA is still around. They're just not around the same way. Now they just do some books and movies and that's it. There's no more disclosure. None of these people work for them and all of the funding fell through, right? Tons of people lost a lot of money who put their own money in it. So the only thing that was public was if you invested in TTSA, you lost all of it. And now there's other companies that are around right now doing the same thing, asking for your money. Some are not. Some are taking the money of rich people and doing their thing. And honestly, I can appreciate that a lot more, right? Yeah, they just leave the claims and promises out there, and we'll have to wait and see, right? So let's continue.
Why aren't people spilling the beans?
Well, it's not look at Lou Elizondo, the guy that works for me that just came from the Pentagon, literally quit the Pentagon 2 weeks ago. I can't tell you where I'm at, but
A lot of can't tell you.
I know,
man.
I'm sorry, but he's with me, and he was on stage with me on the live event we did on the 11th, saying I left the Pentagon days ago. I ran this particular UFO program, and this is what we know, and they are real, and we're going to continue that program here at To the Stars.
Now, but your goal is to release this information through documentaries, through films, and to educate people
Right.
of the existence of this. And is it to make a ship?
Well, no. So this is once again, look, by putting together. You can't attack this subject by just like if you make a movie, someone goes, oh, that's a crazy movie. If you make a science paper on it, then no one's going to read it, and the technology will never see the light of day because it's been modified as weaponry or whatever it is. That the only way to get people to understand what the fuck is going on is by first present them the story so they have an understanding that it is real and it is happening, and lay it in a way that's grounded and practical and but still moves you, and then follow up with the science, and then show them that thing you're watching in the movie can be engineered and created. So we are doing it all together. But there's a thing called a community of interest. So To the Stars is also building a portal with the Department of Defense to share information, to educate people, to put some now declassified videos of UFOs, some science, some documents, and have open forums and have current military people talk to young adults.
So you're going to expose people to this narrative and explain to them through stories what this could be. That sets the stage. Then you start to introduce the actual real elements that actually exist.
Yep.
And then eventually what? What's the end game?
Well, the end game is the technology itself is like, so when you make when you create this energy source that powers the spacecraft, it's called an over unity machine. So it puts out more power than what's put into it. You can desalinate ocean water with it. You can get rid of atomic power, so there's no more Fukushimas. You know, it can do a lot of different things, but it also will rapidly transform our entire transportation and communication network. So the end result with that is that'll get spun out into a company that's probably partners with major aerospace organizations, with whom I'm already talking. And we partner on that.
Let me guess, you can't tell me who they are.
No, fuck no, I can't tell you. And we bring that out to the world. But the only way that can be brought out to the world is if the public owns it and we build it from scratch.
Why the public? Why does the public have to own it?
Because, well, I guess it could be in a way a private person, but the technology probably has an element of what they call eminent domain. So we're going to get to a certain point where certain agencies will probably knock on our door and go, "What the fuck are you doing?" And we're going to say, the public owns this. You can't take it from them. And they're going to say, "Fuck yeah, we can take it." And we're going to say, "We're going to work something out." Because it's like building a nuclear bomb in your basement kind of thing. So
when you say the public owns it, like how will that be possible? How will the public own it?
You can go to we reserved a small amount of shares of the company that people can buy stock in the company right now. So a year ago,
But that's not the public. That's private. It's still private ownership, right? If people buy it, the company can go public. But
it is public.
And I get it. Tom DeLonge, again, great guy. Love Blink-182. I feel his heart is in the right place, and he still believes in this stuff. You know, he still goes around and talks about it, just not as much. Clearly, TTSA is, sore subject. The show they had on National Geographic got canceled as well. I mean, everything around it got canceled. And a lot of these people that were part of TTSA, half of them just went under and don't even talk about this stuff anymore. And the other half just moved on to other things, right? Your Luis Elizondo's, your Hal Puthoffs, all of this, your Chris Mellons, right? So I don't know, just very interesting. And bringing up TTSA is a sore subject for a lot of these people, right? They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to address all the money that people lost believing in this and investing in it. And no offense, but I think that should be addressed.
Do they have any pickled bodies anywhere? Like formaldehyde?
I believe they do.
Dipped?
Yeah.
You believe they do? Nobody's ever told you that?
I believe.
It's just a guess?
I believe they do.
You believe they do? You can't say any more than that.
I'm not going to say any more than that.
You said so much.
I know.
It's so
I know.
weird what you can and can't say.
Well, I could tell you other shit offline, probably.
Okay, offline. I can't wait to end this podcast. I
can
find out the real
don't
deal.
Kick me out.
I
so
won't
I
tell
can
anybody.
Tell you some weird shit.
So now, what's the timeline for moving forward with all this stuff?
Okay, so in the next few weeks, we're going to be releasing the first declassified videos of these advanced aerial threat UFOs, and they are current videos that were just caught, and with audio and everything of the people tracking them. And we're going to launch the beta version of the Community of Interest, which is the partnered website that's going to be hosting all this declassified information, where we're going to be having the hardcore conversations with people that want to understand this stuff. We're going to be also doing an experiment with that piece of metal to show the world that the technology is not only real, but it's demonstratable. And the videos are very much a proof of concept. It's showing you, look, it works, so we're going to build it. And
do you think it's going to be weird for people to take you seriously because you're a rock star? Like maybe if you were like some sort of a physicist or a scientist, they would listen to you more?
Well, I remember when Elon came out years ago and he started SpaceX. And then he started Tesla. I'm like, here's this dude saying all this ambitious shit. I didn't buy any of it.
That guy's 100 times smarter than the both of us combined, though.
He's fucking gnarly. I know, but I'm just saying
he's more believable once you hear him.
Maybe. I think he is. I mean, shit, he's badass. But look at the people. What's interesting to me is you haven't seen who are with. Have you looked at the bios on this shit?
No.
Yeah, you got to read the bios of the people I'm with.
I didn't want to be tainted. I wanted to talk to you first.
Well, one of the on my the scientific board, advisory board is one of the guys at CIA that headed up the entire biowarfare program and the director of operations, the clandestine division.
So all these guys have found you how?
Various ways.
So they've come to you because you're like the beacon.
I did
They're
something.
Like, this is the way to go.
I did something that no one thought was possible.
What's that?
Was tying together a mechanism that can perpetually fund itself and can communicate and can innovate
All right, if you remember at the beginning of the video, I said that there was something in this video at the very end that nobody caught. At least I don't think they did. Now, is it any significance? I don't know. But during the interview with Joe Rogan and Tom DeLonge, Tom says, I can tell you some stuff off the air. Well, I think that's what happened, because as the interview's ending, right, pay attention. When the logo comes up and is spinning, you can hear Tom DeLonge underneath tell Joe Rogan, like, did we stop recording? Okay, let me show you something, right? And, so clearly Tom DeLonge showed Joe Rogan some stuff off the air, right, off the record. But it clearly didn't make an impact because, over the course of the years after Joe Rogan had done that interview with Tom DeLonge, he would always say, yeah, Tom DeLonge was crazy. He never changed his mind. So whatever Tom showed him, clearly didn't make an impact.
All right, dude. Well, that's a very ambitious project, and let us know when you're ready to go to the moon or Mars or wherever the fuck you're going to go.
Uranus?
Yeah, you can go to Uranus, all those places.
All right.
And I hope it's all real. I'm excited.
Cool.
If
Thanks,
it's
guys.
true. Thanks for having me. Oh, thanks for coming on, brother.
Yeah, thank you
Appreciate
so
it, man.
much.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
All right. Are we off? I'll show you something.
And I always want to know, what are these things that they're showing behind the scenes, right? It's like those pictures that Luis Elizondo shared that become public. They get shared behind the scenes for years before they get made public, right? And then they're debunked in a second. What was Tom DeLonge showing? And, what do other people show? They show this stuff behind the scenes, right? So anyway, y'all let me know what you think. For me, it was an interesting ride to go back in time and look through that and kind of just see the similarities with the same things that are happening now, which honestly, not a good sign. So links in the description. Go check everything out for yourself. Let me know what you think in the comments. I really had a good time making this video. I've spent the last few days working on it, to be honest with you, picking through which parts of the interviews would be the best to cover. But anyway, all right. We'll see you guys in the next one. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.